Hey everybody, I'm Mac from Rent Spree, here today to talk to you guys about what exactly a TransUnion Smartmove report shows an agent, a landlord, or an owner to help them determine the best tenant to rent their property to. As a landlord, a rental agent, or a property owner, it can be extremely difficult to make an educated decision on finding the best tenant for your property. And luckily with Rent Spree, we make the screening process so easy. All you have to do is enter the tenant's email address and they get sent the prompt to start the screening process, which then is delivered straight back to your inbox and everything is online. So what exactly is included in a TransUnion Smartmove report? Well, it's made up of 4 key components. 1, the resident score. 2, a credit report. 3, an eviction report. And 4, a criminal background check. Let's briefly break down each one of those components to discuss a little bit more about what that all means. So what is a resident score? The resident score is a key indicator in the Smartmove report and is determined very similarly to how a credit score is determined. With a resident score, however, the formula gives you a number between 350 and 850, which then helps the landlord, owner, or rental agent determine the risk versus reliability for a prospective tenant. So now let's talk about the credit report. TransUnion is one of the major credit bureaus, so of course their credit report is going to be very comprehensive and it's going to give you an insight into a prospective renter's financial reliability as well as their spending habits. Also included in the Smartmove report is eviction history. Now, unfortunately, if a tenant has been evicted in the past, it could be likely that they could run into that sort of issue again in the future. So you're gonna wanna know some past issues that a prospective tenant has had in the past. And TransUnion Smartmove digs into a vast amount of information to help serve up whether or not a prospective tenant has had eviction problems in the past. They'll also identify any other worrisome behavior, such as if there's a previous history of unlawful detainers, tenant judgments for rent, and of course criminal behavior. Now that leads us into the criminal check portion of the Smartmove report. So of course, as a landlord or an owner, you want to protect both the property and your financial security when determining the best tenant to rent to. TransUnion checks over 370 million criminal records, as well as a variety of databases, including the Most Wanted list, the National Sex Offender Public Registry, and collects this information in an easily understandable report. Now let's get into 3 common questions that people typically have about the Smartmove report. First up is the resident score. What exactly is that? Now we went over it briefly before. Let's dive a little bit deeper into how Smartmove determines the score. So the resident score at minimum uses the same information that is factored into a FICO score or any other credit score. The resident score also analyzes resident records and uses additional rental data that's tailored specifically for resident screening. Because of this, it is a better predictor of rental outcomes. Now the biggest difference between a resident score and a credit score is that traditional credit scores are used to determine the outcome of a loan, versus a resident score, which is used to determine rental performance. Another popular question about the TransUnion Smartmove reports is, do they expire? The answer is yes. Those reports expire after 30 days, and that's a TransUnion policy to help protect the applicant's data. Now, one of the biggest questions that we get at Rent Spree in regards to the TransUnion Smartmove reports is this going to damage my credit score? Fortunately, the answer is no, because TransUnion Smartmove uses a soft credit inquiry for their reports. So there is no damage to your credit score at all once these reports are pulled. So that does it for this video on the TransUnion Smartmove reports. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comments below. And of course, visit us at www.rentspree.com.